Welcome back. We're still with the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, and she was just addressing some of the areas that she believes the government has addressed, especially as raised by the private sector. Some of them also include approval delays, low support for domestic manufacturing, customs delays, security issues, high cost of doing business. You're about to address one of the areas you believe that government is doing something that should be visible.
Well, I think the government is doing something in all the areas, not all of which is visible, because some of these are longer-term problems that need a longer-term solution, and we're working on them, and I will speak to... But let me speak to one. You mentioned the high cost of transportation / infrastructure. We have released significant funds into the area of transportation and infrastructure. And just to give you an example, for the whole of last year, we spent 4.9 billion on transportation in Nigeria. In the last 2 months, we've released about 22 billion.
What area of transport precisely?
Have we released money into?
Yes.
So the airport projects that were stalled, because Nigeria had not paid its counterpart funding. You'll see if you go around to Abuja and the new airport terminals that are being built, they had left site. We have mobilised them. They're back to site. Works. We've released 109 billion to power, works and housing, 74 billion of which went to roads. Last year we did 19 billion for the whole year. This year we've done 74 billion in 2 months. We're about to release another around 80 billion to the same ministry. So there is a lot of activity going on to address those things. And I mentioned the GE transaction, which is private sector driven. We are addressing these challenges to business, but some of them are historic challenges that cannot be possibly solved within a year, or indeed within 2 years, but we are working on them because we have a strategic plan to address those things.
Well, what do you say to those people who think that, you know, the economic team of this administration did not set to work on time?
I would say that I can understand why people feel that way, because when people are feeling pain, they want someone or somewhere to lay the blame to. But I think the issue is not about timing. The issue is about strategy. If you start early with the wrong strategy, you will get the wrong results. The issue is, do we have the right strategy? And the answer is yes. It's not about timing. It's about what exactly are you trying to do with the economy. And what we have said from the beginning is we cannot continue in the direction we had been growing in. If you look at where we've been going from, in fact, if you go back to 2005, when we got the Paris Club debt forgiveness. Every single naira of debt forgiveness that we got in 2005, by 2015 we owe. In other words, we have reversed all that Paris Club debt forgiveness. And what do we have to show for it? Now, if you look at the same period, the oil price was incredibly high as $110 per barrel. So if your revenue is high and you're incurring debt, and your GDP is falling, that tells you that actually you are not spending money effectively as government.
But the chances are also high that if you also have the right strategy and do not start on time, you could still end up badly.
Well, the strategy must be developed. You don't just jump into a situation. And the other thing is that many of the things that we're finding now were not even recorded. I can give you a number of examples. Let's talk, for example, let me just speak specifically about works, okay? So we came in. At no point was it recorded that about 7 contractors are owed about 500 billion for work they have already done. Now, we came in and said, right, we're going to get you to work. We gave them money. Some of them have come to us and come to both myself and the Minister of Power, Works and Housing and said, look, we've not received a payment since 2012. You've now given us money and you're telling us to work. How are we sure that we're going to get another payment? Now, the tendency of such a company is to hold back. And that's why this second tranche of money is very important, because we said to them, no, we're serious. Please keep working. We are going to continue to fund you. The past we will deal with, but we need you to work. So there are a number of issues that were not even, and those liabilities were not recorded. These are things we discovered when we got in. So you have to have a strategy that is data-driven and based on facts, and that's what we have.
My colleague spoke about, bailing out the private sector. You've talked about how you're addressing this sectorally. Are there any plans to get monies directly in the hands of Nigerians?
Absolutely. I've said already that the money we're even spending is being spent through the private sector. It's not direct. But we do have direct programs, and that's the social intervention programs, which we've funded now. And that will be doing school meals. I think they're rolling out in 10 states initially. The children are back to school now. The school meal programs will kick off. The 5,000 naira for some of the poorest Nigerians, that's being funded. The teacher call, which...
That's being funded?
Yes.
When?
We funded it yesterday, so... They already had 20 billion, but it wasn't enough, and we've given them another 60 billion.
So has the payments begun?
They will start. They will start.
Oh, they haven't started
yet? They haven't
yet.
started, but they will start.
When do they? When
this month, I'm very sure a lot of people that are on that social register will start to receive their payment. The structure's in place. There's a lot of work that's been going on under Mrs. Uwais's team to put the structures in place, because you've got to make sure that the money gets to the people. It doesn't go to middlemen, doesn't go to the local government, goes directly to the people. These are direct programmes, so they're ready. I sit on the steering committee for the social intervention programme. They brought their budget and brought their proposals, and they've shown us, and they have NIBs who run the BVN system actually running the payment platform to make sure that money is not going to middlemen, money is going directly to the beneficiaries. So that's ready to kick off. And of course, one of the ones that I think is very, very important is the teacher corps, which I think is a very innovative programme, because if you look at our indices show that our education system really is crumbling. And an education system that is not performing really usually starts at primary. So by putting these thousands, hundreds of thousands of graduates into our primary schools as teaching assistants, supporting early learning, I think is very important. And those will begin to get stipends from this month, of course, because their programme is tied with the resumption of the school year. So there are direct interventions that are happening that will alleviate the pain of the average Nigerian and allow more families to just be able to feed and do basic things as we get through this difficult period.
Let me come in here quickly. I'm a sweet tooth, and if you are diabetic and you're a sweet tooth, definitely there are things that you shouldn't be doing that will be inimical to your own health. I still go back to what is happening here, because I woke up over the weekend and I said to myself, I don't think Nigeria is in a recession, because I see that the government isn't doing what we should be doing. A lot of other spendings that we have seen in times past, nothing has changed. I gave you an example of the entourage a while ago, and I also talked about the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission, because I still think that commission should be speaking now to the people, looking to cutting monuments, especially of office holders in government. Don't you think that they should be part of the discussion, especially when you had your budget retreat?
I believe RAMFAC were there, but you would need to speak to RAMFAC about the specific things they're doing on setting of political officer holder salaries. All I can tell you is what I know, and what I know is that this government is fully committed to being extremely frugal with public money. In fact, if anything, the complaints we're getting are that, look, you've tightened all the loopholes, you're not allowing us to do the things that we normally get away with, you're being far too tough on us, and maybe you should loosen your hands to allow money to flow. And our argument to that is, we will loosen our hands to allow money to flow to strategic things that will actually grow the economy, not wasteful things. I mean, last week, even at the budget retreat, you saw the programme. The programme was one page. There's a circular that says you cannot print programmes with president's page, vice president's picture, the way we used to print those glossy brochures in the past. That's gone. Programme was one page. It was one page printed on white paper. So I think government is cutting back. We're not there yet. And I'm sure you'll find many examples where it's not being complied with, and we do follow up on that. But we are on a journey towards being better at how we manage government money, because we recognise that that's the key to us being able to get out of this situation.